Hello, OCU community and friends of OCU. I'm Dr. Talia Carroll. My pronouns are she and her, and I serve as Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion here at OCU. Welcome to Blue Table Talks, an initiative where we bring together alumni and students to talk about really important topics and where folks are really sharing their perspective and experience to expand our perspectives and help us to think differently, maybe about the topic, or to just walk away with new information. We are so excited to have you here today and to hear from two amazing people. I want to introduce you to Robin Ladd and Giovanna Lopez Medina. We will be talking about diversity in law today, and I hope that you feel enriched and excited by what will be shared with you today. So, really appreciate both of you being here. And let's start first, Robin, with you. Would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Robin. I am from Oklahoma City originally. I was homeschooled. I'm one of 7, so shout out to my mom.
Yes.
Yes, but I entered OCU pretty early, was embraced immediately, and really hit my stride here. Enjoyed my time thoroughly. When I was a student, OCU's nickname was Overcommitted University, so I was definitely one of those students, but happily so. I majored in political science and philosophy and minored in history, so the best disciplines, at least to me. But upon graduating, went to law school up east, got a very great, enriching education there, and came back to Dallas, Texas to practice law.
That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing. Giovanna, share with us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Giovanna Lopez Medina. I am a 3L at Oklahoma City University School of Law. And at OCU Law, I do a number of things. I am the president for the Hispanic Law Student Association. I am the president for the Immigration Legal Society. I am the unofficial chair of Stony the Road. I am an admissions ambassador. And I was also a mentor for a new program that was started last fall called Spanish for Lawyers, where current students get to practice their Spanish skills so that they can use once they graduate. And so, yeah, that's a little bit of what I do.
Goodness. Okay, Robin, so exactly the same things are happening that were happening when you were a student, right?
Yeah.
Overcommitted, but or maybe just committed in some really exciting ways. So I want to come back to Stony the Road. So Giovanna is extremely involved in doing some really amazing work. So wondering if you can talk a little bit about Stony the Road and the impact you believe it's been making on the community.
Yes, so Stony the Road was started by a student who graduated last year, and her name is Jasmine Matthew, and she recognized some of the issues when it comes to diversity in the law, and she wanted to do something about it. As a result, she gathered a number of students, 2Ls, 1Ls, and other 3Ls, and we started planning events. With her guidance and the topics that she really wanted to focus on, we did 4 panels. They were via Zoom last spring, and they were very well received. We had, I think towards the end, like upwards of 100 people participating from all over the country, not just people from Oklahoma. And so we decided to continue her work. And this year we had 2 panels in the fall, and we had our final event a couple of nights ago where Dr. Carroll got to facilitate that. And so the topics that we chose for this year was how some of the laws that the Oklahoma legislature passed last year affected people of color in the state. We also did a panel on the McGirt decision. Everything's still a hot mess around that. And then we wanted to bring light to the Tulsa Race Massacre and talk about that. And so we had an incredible guest. We had Mr. Hannibal Johnson, and I think we're all still very inspired by everything that he said. It was a very impactful experience. But yeah, that's a little bit about Stony the Road. We've been very thankful of the support that we've received from Dean Roth, from Dr. Carroll, Abby Kate. Yeah, and so we're really grateful to be doing this work, and it looks like it's going to continue on to next year.
It's just a slice of all the things that you do, Yvonne.
Yes, yes.
So I'm going to take it, Stony the Road. Did that come from the Black National Anthem? Stony
Yes.
the Road, we trod bitter the chastening rod. Okay, that's
Yes.
that's a very poignant name.
Yes,
I think.
and very interestingly, Dean Roth suggested that name, I believe. We have been met with a lot of support from the administration, from Dr. Carroll, from Dean Roth, and so that has been helpful. I think that also as president of HILSA and of immigration law, we've been supported enough to have dreams and bring those dreams to fruition. I can't say it. But yeah, that's a little bit of OCU law, and I'm very thankful for that. We were able to attend festivals through immigration law, the Immigration Legal Society. We were able to support a local organization called Dream Action Oklahoma, and they support the immigrant community in the state. And so Dean Roth has been very, very supportive of all the ideas that we've had, and it's been great. Yeah.
Well, I am curious about something, because I'm listening to, you are doing quite a lot, and I'm wondering how you're finding balance in that. Because I'll tell you, people talk about work-life balance, and even in my own profession, that's still an ongoing topic. So it doesn't stop when you graduate.
Yes.
But I remember when I was a student, at the time, there were a lot of protests on campus, and there were a lot of students who were deeply involved in creating a diverse framework, who were spending hours, arguing with administrators and, having spirited debates about, how the school should address, racial inequality, particularly with respect to African American students, but also, diverse groups as a whole. In particular, it focused around, our crest at the time. The crest of the school was one that was held by a slave owner. And so a lot of students felt that, this is not reflective, it shouldn't be reflective of the institution as it sits today, so this should be dismantled. Well, the institution is a very storied place, and, so there were lots of, debates about that. Seeing that work being poured in by my colleagues versus seeing students who did not necessarily feel the need to either A, engage in that work, or B, did not feel it, affected by that work, there created this disparity where, when we were doing job interviews, for example, leadership in the Black Law Students Association said, hey, we want everyone to know, our students are contributing to racial equality movements on campus as well, and that should be factored in as to how you look at them when you're thinking about, hiring them, et cetera. So I'm curious about, how you've been managing that, because it's like a double workload, if you will, because not only are you a 3L, you're in class, you're working, but you're also doing so much advocacy outside of that.
My answer to that is I like to work collaboratively, both in Stony the Road and at the student organizations. I have in all three, I have groups of students who are very engaged, who care, and we all do the work. And that has been really, really helpful. Now, as far as when you're talking about seeking jobs, I think that in the legal world and in the law school world, that is an issue in that as you know, rank and grades are really, really important. And those are the students that are getting the top jobs, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't think there's enough being done to translate the work that students are doing to be able to get some of those opportunities. Yeah, there's definitely a void there. Yeah.
I love this. I just heard, so I want to translate what I think I heard you ask as well, that, or what I see sometimes is, in particular, if we're speaking about folks of color, that students of color sometimes also take on this work, right? This additional burden, this additional labor, when other folks maybe should be doing the work. And so as we talk about being committed, right, right, and the organizations you were in, which I'd love to hear about some more, that we need to be mindful, right, that you are also navigating being an excellent student, and there are other identities you hold as well, right? And so we'd have to be really conscientious about who's taking on the work, and that it shouldn't always fall on, first, students, and second, especially students of color and those who hold marginalized and minoritized identities. So I don't know if that was also a part of, or piece of what you were saying, but I wanted to circle back to that as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, I do think that, you know, we talk a bit about, you know, my firm recently instituted a billable hour for diversity. So we have a billable credit now where we can say, you know, or non-billable credit, but it is a credit nonetheless. Hey, I have been doing this work. And that was such a great move to me by the firm, because it allowed, you know, people who are committed deeply to these issues to say, you know, I have placed, you know, 3 hours of my time, you know, mentoring a student and, you know, being focused on diversity, equity, inclusion issues. You know, that's something I can certainly say about, you know, the firm that I'm at, that they are deeply committed to that, and that credit, you know, shows that. And so I was thinking, you know, I can do that, you know, as an attorney, because my firm, you know, is committed to these issues. But, you know, as a student, you know, I'm thinking, you know, how do you, you know, tell your professor, you know, hey, you know, I have, you know, there's, you know, something I need to do, and, you know, have that kind of be reflected, you know, in your experience.
And I think even to your point, Ivana, about, or just work in general, like how do we make sure that the places we want to work honor DEI in general, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion, access, justice. How do we make sure that all of these efforts are being acknowledged in a meaningful way as well? And often, right, they aren't, right? It's not fully embedded in the practice of the organizations or places we want to spend time. So how can you get credit or be acknowledged for that as you, right, seek to, when it's time to graduate, right, and you're out looking for those jobs, that you want to be recognized, like, here's what I'm bringing, here's special skill and perspective. And so I can appreciate both of those perspectives and questions that were asked. So, Joanna, did you want to ask Robin a question?
Yeah, but it's a different topic.
It's a different topic.
I'm not sure. Okay.
Whatever you want to do.
So there's a lot of hoops and turns, and it's very difficult to get into law school. And students of color, students of diverse backgrounds, oftentimes don't have the resources, the connections, the networking opportunities. And so I was wondering, since you are now a practicing attorney, if you've had time to think about what are some of the things that we can do in the legal field to create greater access for those students who have an interest in law school, for them to be able to go to law school.
So I think that's a great question. You know, I can see so many different disparities in who pursues law, you know, not even from a, you know, necessarily like a categories of diversity point, but even from a socioeconomic standpoint. You know, there are so many barriers of entry to the legal profession. First, I will say, and I do want to give this credit, I had absolutely outstanding support as an OCU student, professors who were invested in me and made sure that, you know, any questions I had, they were answered. I got great letters of recommendation from them. So having, you know, the background and the foundation of a university like Oklahoma City University was integral. to my admission. Without that support, I'm not sure that, I had professors tell me, look, I'll pay for the bar for you, just go to law school. Fortunately, I did not have to take up that offer, but, they were deeply invested in making sure that I was successful. And so the first thing I would say actually is, don't be afraid to cultivate those relationships. This is we have an incredible faculty here, and, their doors were always open, and I was able to engage with them and speak with them, and, as well as with, my fellow students. But I was able to speak with them and be able to just, run ideas, etc. So they are resources as well. Secondly, I think it is the burden of the practicing attorney to reach back. You should not, as a student, have to continuously, climb up by yourself and, drag someone down by the ankle and say, please speak to me. It's up to me to turn around and to say, let me give you a hand. Mentoring is a big thing for me, and not necessarily formal mentoring. Often it's a phone call here and there with a particular student. Anytime I speak to anyone, I say, look, the trouble with me is you're getting me to stop talking to you. So to the extent that you have any questions, please let me know. So I really think it's on us to make sure that students who want legal careers are surrounded by, are in environments that are supportive to them. For example, one of the things that Haynes and Boone does is we have a pipeline initiatives committee, and that committee is dedicated to talking to high school students in local areas about, their options, and have you considered law as a practice area, and really thinking about education. And I love that initiative because, again, that's Haynes and Boone saying, we care deeply about this, and we want to bring up the next generation of lawyers. For me personally, I do a lot of, informal mentoring, as I stated. But I really do think that when it comes down to making sure people have access, it's like, who's on which side of the door, right? So let me open this door for you before you try to, figure out which key fits, because, you may not have, the right key, but I know, that I'm in, I have the access. So that would be my answer to that question.
Thank you for sharing that. Unfortunately, not all students have the support system, especially in an institution like Oklahoma City University. I, for one, was told at the institution that I received my bachelor's degree from by the pre-law advisor that I would never go to law school. And so I'm really happy that you had that experience, but also I know that that's probably not the same experience for a lot of students. And then on the flip side, when you talked about reaching in, after I received my bachelor's degree, there was an attorney, a female attorney, who set up a meeting with Justice Gurich at the Oklahoma Supreme Court, and that changed it for me. Like, what the pre-law advisor had done was undone by what this attorney did, right? So thank you for sharing that, because I definitely got to experience an attorney giving back and it making all of the difference for me. Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. I am, that admissions counselor was clearly wrong.
Yeah.
Because here you are, on the verge of taking the bar. And it is disheartening to me, to hear something like that. I will say, most people, most of the attorneys that I've spoken with have been pretty open about, talking about their professions. So to the extent that, a student hears that from someone, I would say, okay, go ask an attorney. Like, just go ask it. Just pick up a phone book, call an attorney, like, see what they say. And, they'll tell you, well, I'm doing it. So if you're smart enough to call me, then there's probably a good chance that you can do this too. So,
yeah.
Well, I think that's actually a really beautiful place to end, and I really respect the perspective that those of us who have achieved a certain level of accomplishment, that we are really committed to providing space and mentorship and time and commitment to those who are wanting to be in the space we are. And so this feels like a really lovely connection here. So hopefully you two can stay connected as well. And to all of you who are watching, we hope that you were able to learn a little bit and to even find deep inside yourself an opportunity that maybe you connect with someone, that you reach back, that you find a way to build connection and to build your own social capital. Robin, I want to thank you for being here. Yvonne, thank you for your